Sekeres and Price for Monday, October 28th, 2024, coming to you from the Nation Network studio, built by Arbor Lee here at the historic Wall Center. And if you got your tickets to the big game, why not make it a full experience? Stay downtown here at the Wall. Call 604-331-1000. Ask for the Sekeres and Price rate. Some blackout dates apply based on availability. Matt Sekeres alongside Blake Price. Four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson hitting switches, conducting things. Big show coming up for you after just a thoroughly entertaining weekend of sports. That was just awesome stuff from Friday night onwards. And it includes a fourth straight victory for the Vancouver Canucks, who beat the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday. More on that in a moment. But let's get to our Surrey Mitsubishi poll question. Will Arshdeep Bains be a regular for the Canucks this season? Yes or no? You can vote on the Sekeres and Price X and YouTube channels. Blake Price, what says you?
I think it'll be tough for him to be a regular. They've got so much depth right now. He needs to be a bottom line contributor, and right now that has not been the case. Great that he gets on the board. It was a fabulous goal, and it was a fabulous story, and I hope for him that he's able to do that, but ultimately, that has not been the case to this point. So I think he's going to be hard-pressed. He's going to need to continue to be visible because the real estate that he's been given has been pretty good. He's been given some playing time. So, and he's playing with skilled players, too. Like, Daniel Sprong's a decent player. This is not an exclusively checking assignment here for Arshdeep Bains. So, I'm going to say no, but it's possible. But he just needs to contribute.
The thing the kid, and of course, we're talking about Arshdeep Bains because he scores his first NHL goal Saturday at home. Huge ovation for the kid from Surrey. The thing that he's buttoned up against is that they can send him back down to the farm without sending him through waivers.
Yeah.
And that just makes him a very easy roster move. In fact, they've done it twice here in the last week where they've sent him and Brännström down to Abbey just on paper, just to accrue a little bit of cap space over a day or a 2-day period. So he has that going against him. Of course, Dakota Joshua is going to have a spot when he returns, and that's getting close. So he's got to outperform Sprong and Oman to stick, basically. The question becomes, first of all, if they like him better than Oman, are they willing to put Oman on waivers? Okay. And then secondly, if he gets over that hurdle, then can he outmaneuver a Sprong or a somebody else to get that regular playing time? Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but you got to be rooting for him, right?
Yeah,
the story is right there, and what a story it is. We'll get into it in a second.
The story's great, but of course they are committed to Sprong here with, in the short to medium term at the very least. I think they want to.
Are they though?
I think they want to give Sprong a chance to win this job. They know that the skill is higher end with Sprong than it is with Bains. So until they feel like Daniel Sprong has fallen flat on his face, I think they're going to give Daniel Sprong every chance to succeed. And given the praise that was heaped upon Sprong by Rick Tocchet after the game on Saturday, they're nowhere close to being done with Daniel Sprong just yet.
Daily poll question brought to you by Surrey Mitsubishi. Your last chance here to take advantage of the 2024 models. I'm driving the 2024 Outlander PHEV, the hybrid, and I absolutely love it. We fit everybody in comfortably on Friday. You get a $1,000 credit with this vehicle towards winter tires. Interest rates as low as 1.99%. No charge extended warranty. That's valued at $3,750. And EV rebates up to $7,500. And at Surrey Mitsubishi, the first 6 months of insurance on them. See dealer for details. And this is while supplies last. The 2024s, they're going quickly. Surrey Mitsubishi, 13820 104th Avenue in Surrey. Online at surreymitsubishi.com. Our top story today brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Yellow Dog Spirits, and Foolish Winery. Bains and Pettersson break through in a 4-3 win over Pittsburgh. The standing ovation for Arshdeep Bains, who nets what turns out to be the game-winning goal. He's just the fourth Punjabi player to score an NHL point. He got a congratulatory tweet from the Prime Minister. And you're right, Daniel Sprong did some excellent work on that goal. Let's hear from Baines, who said he had a couple of legendary Canucks tell him it was his time to score.
We talked. They said they had a good feeling tonight, and I've been hearing that from a couple guys, and they're all pretty happy for me, and it almost felt like it was meant to be.
Yeah, that was Henrik and Daniel Sedin who informed him Saturday, gonna score tonight, kid. Sure enough, he did. All four lines scored for the Vancouver Canucks. 10 skaters got a point. They scored 3 goals in 65 seconds, which is the fourth fastest 3-goal barrage in club history. Paterson scores his first of the season, and he was asked post-game about the developing chemistry on his line with Höglander and Garland.
I think we're growing every game. I think they're really good around the corners to work the puck down low, and I'm trying to find open ice in the middle. Like the goal today, I was just finding open net, hoping for the pass to come, and Connor find me perfectly there.
And that's the role reversal that we didn't necessarily see coming. For so long, we've been talking about getting Elias Pettersson wingers, thinking he would be the one setting up them for the goals. And maybe we got that wrong. Maybe it's going to be Connor Garland setting up Elias Pettersson for the goals, given the work rate along the boards for both Garland and Höglander. While both those guys are certainly capable of adding themselves and getting goals themselves, maybe it's better for it to look like it did just there. And when you see Pettersson shooting with space around him, you see that that's really the better thing to reach for. He's a better shooter than those two guys are. So maybe he should be the goal scorer on that line. And it's a bar down beauty.
So a shoot first centerman. They happen in the NHL. I mean, it's usually the guy in the middle is more the creator, but it happens. There's been a lot of great careers forged as shoot first centerman.
We've also talked about how Connor Garland's a weird player. And you know, like maybe this is how you make it work with Connor Garland.
Mm-hmm. Pettersson gets the goal. He's a -1 on the night, plays 19 minutes and 11 seconds, has 2 shots, 2 hits, a takeaway, a block shot, and wins nearly half his faceoffs, 9 of 19. Again, progress, and in the case of Saturday, breaks the goose egg in the goal column.
Yeah.
So continue to make baby steps here. We'll see what's in store against Carolina tonight. Can be a difficult team to play against Carolina. Also, notice Patrick Johnson's story, or his mailbag, on the weekend at the province. And there's a question about Petey's speed there. He says, Patrick does, in his first 6 games this year, he hasn't hit the top speed that he hit last season. He hasn't had nearly as many speed bursts as he did last year either. This is what Tocchet is talking about with regards to, moving your feet. Make sure you move your feet. And then I also saw the Rick Tocchet comment in Ian McIntyre's story late last week on Paterson. Quote, "We have a plan. I don't want to burn him out, but there's going to be times he's going to have to work extra on his game. We've got to lead the charge when it comes to that."
So the question for me
is...
A
lot of kid gloves here with Pettersson, huh?
Yeah, given the investment, given the fact this is a guy who has been to 100 points, and you're now trying to figure out how to unlock him? Like it's...
You got players hardening, toughening him up, and...
It's a little bit odd.
Like, look, here's the thing. Go out and have a banger tonight, or have a couple good games here against some pretty good opponents in Carolina and New Jersey, and the first 4 or 5 games of the season are forgotten.
Yeah, for
right?
Sure. Yeah.
And he's not too far away. He's 4 points in 7 games. So, go out and have a multi-point effort. And Jeff had the great stat for us on Friday of how long it's actually been since a multi-point effort from Elias. But go out, have a multi-point effort, and your numbers are going to look pretty good, kind of on track to what they were last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
if you consider last year good.
Well, the
first half was, that counts too.
So the question on the speed burst thing is, which is coming first, the chicken or the egg here? Like, is he not doing the speed burst because he doesn't want to, because he can't? You know, is that the injury?
Well, he's talking about the injury, right? So you have to ask yourself, is this where the injury is showing up? That the acceleration bursts fewer than before, and that when he does burst, he's not getting to the speed that he used to get at.
But again, the missing element there is the injury prevented him from a actual capability standpoint, or it hurts when he does that, so therefore he's not doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Those are two different things.
Yeah. It was 89 points last year, down from 102. I know a lot of people thought, somewhere in the middle of that for this season for Paterson. Some work to do, but again, good night or two, and he's going to be right there on track or close to it. Carolina, the opponent tonight, second of a 3-game homestand. They got Jersey on Wednesday, the Hughes Brothers Bowl. Canucks looking for a fifth straight win. This is the 8th game of the season, so just shy of 10% of the season in the books after tonight. Carolina's 5-2. They've won 3 straight. Saw the tweet from Jeff. They have used the exact same 18 skaters for all 7 games so far.
Wow.
Not a single lineup change for Carolina, although there's a little bit of goaltender drama for the Canes this morning.
One goalie at the game day skate and the equipment manager in the other goal. Frederick Anderson, sounds like he's banged up. They call up Spencer Martin. We know him. Hasn't arrived yet, so hence the equipment manager. Pyotr Kochetkov appears to be the starter. He's 2-1 in 3 games so far for the Hurricanes, but a .270 goals against average in the small sample and an .878 or something very mediocre, below 900, sub-900 save percentage for him in those games as well. So, the Canucks have drawn pretty well in terms of the goaltender card for the opposition so far this season. A couple of times they've been given the lesser of the 2 keepers. You have to take advantage of this. You have to pounce on a struggling or mediocre netminder, and let's see if they can continue more of the same. If they stay, and it looks like they are staying with their 18 skaters as well, we saw some more speed there. That speed is starting to come along, and the quickness too. Never mind just flat out speed, but quickness of play was there for the Vancouver Canucks, and you can't help but think that's what allows them to get all those quick strike goals. The reason why you get those is because you're kind of overwhelming them, making quick decisions.
Rush chances, right?
Yeah. One
of the things that they wanted to improve this year, play with a little bit more pace, generate some more goals off the rush, and when you do have possession, shoot the puck a little more frequently. Get more pucks on net. This Carolina team shoots from everywhere. This is one of their calling cards. This is one of the things. This is how they play. When they get the puck, they're going to throw it on net, and then they're going to have guys searching for the rebounds.
Ergo, this was not an Artur Silovs start.
Correct. By any stretch.
That would have been folly to try to push him into this game.
Absolutely. So Lankinen again. Canucks right now 8, and it's a little confusing because you got disparate number of games played between different teams. Some teams are way out in front in terms of the number of games played. Some are lagging behind. The Canucks right now sitting 8th in the league in winning percentage at 71.4. Carolina 6th. And then in the division, Vegas is 5th, off to another great start. Calgary now down to 9th after their tremendous start. Of course, Winnipeg still perfect.
What a wagon.
8-0.
What
wow.
a wagon.
How about that? And Tocchet says, look, good news is we're winning games, we're banking points. Flip side is he still doesn't think they've had a complete 60-minute effort in game in the 7 so far. Here's Coach.
You just try to search that 60-minute game obviously the second period was great, and then we kind of let our foot off the gas. We just got to play a consistent style of game. The good thing is we're winning, but we're not happy about our game. But I think there's signs that we are playing well. So I think we just got to be careful we don't overlook at overanalyze.
Well, for the first couple of games, the positive spin out of those single points were, hey, they got out in front. They had leads in those games. They had chances to win those games. So they hadn't been out of a game per se. Conversely, I mean, the silver lining to making your life difficult on the weekend was you've shown you can come back now from multi-goal deficits. And you were pretty sure that was going to happen eventually anyway with this team. It happens for most teams, but it was just nice to see a multi-goal deficit erased and not having to leave it to the third period either, not having to wait for a dramatic comeback. Canucks put in some spade work in the middle part of the game to make sure that they came back and ultimately took a lead then. So they've shown different ways to win so far this season.
I want to get to a few players here before we get to J-Pat, who is standing by, but Derek Forbort back with the team. Of course, when is he going to play again when Erik Brännström is looking like Erik Brännström is? He's looking like a regular. They're outscoring the opposition 4-0 in the 50-plus minutes that he's been on the ice at even strength. Tocchet said, quote, probably can give him a few more minutes. He wheels the net really well. He's like Huggy. He's like Hughes. He can do that. Says Brännström has really impressed him with his feistiness, and he's not only impressed the head coach, he's impressed the captain. Here's Quinn Hughes on Brännström.
Yeah, he's been really good. I mean, just making smart plays and being solid defensively. I mean, he hasn't given anything up, and I think that, I grew up watching him and playing against him, and he was always a terrific player, so I can't say I'm surprised, and I think that the longer this goes, the better he'll play and just more comfortable he'll feel.
Yeah, lest we forget, they are somewhat contemporaries. Brännström was chosen in the first round in 2017, and then Quinn Hughes came a year later. And so, they were both part of that flood, that wave of undersized defensemen that started to get draft helium, that started to get drafted higher than they had been previously. We talked about all through camp that, look, he's not Hughes, or I guess after the trade, after the acquisition, he's not Hughes, but there's a Quinn Hughes light, a poor man's Quinn Hughes skill set there.
He's RC Cola.
To some degree.
For a dated reference, I saw RC Cola the other day, by the way, down in the States. Still exists.
Royal Crown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's now up to 10 days and 4 games. He requires waivers at 30 days, 10 games. So that's something else to monitor, unless, of course, he's so damn good that waivers are going to be not a thing to begin with. That he is just an NHL defenseman with the Vancouver Canucks. And as we discussed, when he got sent down and made it through waivers after the acquisition from Colorado, he has been a regular for the Ottawa Senators the last 2 seasons, right? He was a full-time NHL defenseman going 70-plus games in each of the last 2 years.
I'm trying not to be drunk on Brännström here. Let's walk it back to at least this point, though. Again, he's an arrow they don't have in that quiver. We got it. Big, rangy, shot-blocking defenseman. We got a lot of those arrows in the quiver. They don't have this arrow in the quiver. So even if he's not every night, even if he's not going to be a 75 games played guy, I think he could be a 55 games played guy, at which point he's going to be on this roster for the duration of the season anyhow. And I think it behooves you. And I think what some of the the shine that Quinn Hughes is speaking about there is that he appreciates somebody else, making that great pass, skating the puck out of danger. He appreciates somebody else can do that besides just him and Roenick.
And I got to say, I love the internal competition. I love the depth that this team has right now. Take Sprong, for example. Tocchet on Sprong. I thought he was a star tonight. This was Saturday.
Yeah.
He did the little things that he needed to do, and that Baines goal, that's pretty special what he did. So you've got a, I think, very healthy situation here where the pressure's on to produce when you play. because they have other guys who are ready to go and other guys that they believe in. Brings me to this line that's developing, and they scored again on Saturday. Teddy Blueger with Danton Heinen and Kiefer Sherwood. And
you think Sherwood's having any fun? Do you see that celebration?
Wow. Wow. I mean, before they re-signed Dakota Joshua, you might remember Patrick Alvin said our job is to go out and find the next Dakota Joshua.
Except they didn't lose Joshua and they added another one.
And when Sherwood was signed, people went, well, I mean, this is a kid who's got some skills. He's a better shooter of the puck than his stat line would suggest. And he was a real pain in the ass against the Canucks last year as a Nashville Predator. He's been sensational. And here's Blueger on the success that those three are having.
Playing hard. I think we're on the same page as far as the way we want to play and possessing the puck in the offensive zone. Obviously, Heino's a real smart guy with a good shot. Woody's physical, brings a lot of energy. So I think just kind of complementing each other well in different ways like that.
Canucks versus Canes, our top story today, brought to you by Neighborhood Brewing, releasing their second fresh hop beer of the season, the Fresh Crush Fresh Hop West Coast Pilsner. Made with fresh crush hops. It's complex, it's punchy, it's fresh, just like your favorite 90s pop ballad. Go check it out. The Fresh Crush Fresh Hop West Coast Pilsner.
What is your favorite 90s? What'd you say? Pop ballad?
Pop ballad. Pop ballad. I'd have to think about it.
Nothing compares to you. Sinead O'Connor.
That's 90s? That's got to be late 80s.
No.
Really?
Say 90s. Unbreak My Heart, Tony Braxton.
No, definitely not that.
Okay.
No.
I Swear. Kiss from a Rose. Anyways.
Yeah.
Tyler Myers, 1,000 games deep. Big celebration on Saturday. Only the 7th Canuck to reach that milestone in a Canucks jersey. Nice touch from JT Miller donating his A for the day. Saw that he had some ex-teammates in town. Little Tyler Ennis. Blake Wheeler. Well, what?
It's not very nice. Come
Well,
on.
he's like 5'5", and Myers, they had a thing together in Buffalo, remember? They would pose for photos.
Myers just pick him up, put him in his little pocket.
Yeah, exactly. A little leprechaun. Our friend Brandon Sutter was in town to help celebrate Tyler Myers on the weekend. So really nice to see. As we discussed last week with Myers, I think there's a really good human there. And you can tell that his teammates respond to him. And we learned last week that he is very much the carrier of Rick Tocchet's message, that sometimes when Tocchet goes out there and, blasts them or says this or says that, Tyler Myers is the one guy there to carry the message and maybe deliver it a little more dispassionately than Coach. Gets emotional. Okay, let's get to our menu today. It is brought to you by Greta. Greta, a fantastic spot for all the games, home and away. We'll be there for Canucks Army viewing parties all season long. You're just minutes, steps from the arena or stadium before the game, post-game. Check out the great street food menu, the Smash Burger, my favorite, and all those games in that incredible arcade. Weekly drink specials. Greta, the place to be, 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar. Let the games begin. J-Pat is standing by here live from Rogers Arena after taking in the pregame skates for Carolina and Vancouver. We will get to that in a moment. Also, mention off the top, just an incredible weekend of sports. The Whitecaps with a playoff game. We'll talk about that. The Lions know where they're going for their playoff game. The Seahawks not only lose at home again, but their stadium is conquered yet again. And then just astonishing stuff from the World Series in the opening couple of games in Los Angeles. So plenty to get to, including I understand there was a Hail Mary in the NFL this weekend as well.
I might have missed that. Okay.
We'll get to all that. First to our Bet365 bets of the day. This segment proudly presented by Bet365, partner here on Sekeres and Price. And look, Jake DeBrusk, he's still searching for his first goal as a Canuck. Like Petey and Archdeep Saturday, he's due.
Yep.
He knows this Carolina team from his time in the Eastern Conference. And he's playing with good players on the Canucks top line. Plus, you get some value here. He's plus 130 to record a point tonight. Give me Jake DeBrusk. to get on the score sheet.
All right. I'm going to do a points prop here for JT Miller. I think he's due for a multi-point game. 360 for JT Miller to get multiple points in this one. Simple as that.
Open an account with Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code NATION when opening that account. We bringing Jeff in here or give him a minute?
Oh, we'll give him a minute.
Okay. J-Pat coming up.
Yes.
And there he is, our Canucks reporter, RinkWide Vancouver's Jeff Paterson from Rogers Arena, where he took in the proceedings this morning. How are you?
I'm good, guys. And the Carolina Hurricanes are in town. You knew that by virtue of the schedule, but how they got into town is a little bit different. I don't know if you've seen the issues they had with their airplane after the game in Seattle on Saturday night. They had to bus to Vancouver, which doesn't happen very often in the National Hockey League. And Murph telling a great story, I guess, talking to Brent Burns. Usually they would fuel up with food on the airplane, quick flight. Obviously, that wasn't an issue. Hockey players have to eat after a game. The Hurricanes did the drive-through McDonald's bit, but apparently the McDonald's was closed by the time they had ordered off the app. Brent Burns had to hitch a ride with a random stranger in a car to go through the drive-through to collect the team's order. And as Murph says, imagine Brent Burns, of all people, knocking on your car window, asking for a ride well after midnight on a Saturday night in rural Washington State. Anyways, apparently it all worked out to plan. They got their burgers and whatever else they got. They got here, and they will play tonight against the Vancouver Canucks.
Well, that is unhealthy nourishment for them. The Canucks should have an easy 2 points here tonight. Nathan McKinnon cannot believe they chose McDonald's.
Hopefully he had his teeth in so the guy knocking on his door wasn't too frightened.
That's right.
Can I come in there with you?
All right, let's get to it. Well, Jeff, we'll start with our poll question. Archdeep Baines, what do you think? You got a chance to be a regular for the Canucks this season?
He does. I think we have to be careful here. The Dakota Joshua getting closer every day, and Rick Tocchet said he wouldn't play on Wednesday, but beyond that, said out on the road trip, yeah, quite possibly. Something's got to give, not just with the lineup, but the roster, obviously, to activate Dakota Joshua, and Archdeep Baines will remain the easy decision because he doesn't require waivers, as we've seen here over the weekend and in recent days when they've had time off and they've done the paper transactions down and back. So I guess the question becomes, how much ground can Archdeep cover here to become a regular and really plant his flag in this lineup? Just because they can send him to Abbotsford, are they going to weaken this team if they feel he's one of their best 12 forwards? And that's a decision that the organization's going to have to make, and Archdeep's going to have to continue to up his game. Incredible moment here the other night, guys. It was just so cool to be in the building, to witness it all in a stunning turn of events with the 3 goals in 65 seconds and then 4 goals in a total of 5 minutes. But it is just 1 goal, his first NHL point, right? And up until that moment, I had been among those that were saying, like, it's a great story, but how much mileage can we get out of the local boy? Makes the team he grew up watching. He's got to earn his place in this lineup. So we can't get ahead of ourselves, but there are signs there that he's doing all the things that Rick Tocchet has wanted. He's brought speed, some tenacity, and we know that he's been a finisher at other levels, and so it was great to see him score here on Saturday night. I think that's going to be the challenge, obviously, is, can he do enough in the minds of the organization that they may have to place Nils Aman on waivers? That's sort of the option, I think. I mean, when you look at what would have to happen to get Dakota Joshua into this lineup, something's going to have to give. So I think there's still a fair bit of ground to cover for Archdeep, but he's taking steps, leaps and bounds to cover a fair bit of that ground with his performance here in the short term. But I'm going to vote no, unfortunately, for him on the poll question. Just in terms of a regular, like an every night guy, I'm not sure that he's there just yet.
Well, there's too many other guys that are hungry too, right? There's just a lot of guys vying for jobs right now.
Including Daniel Sprong, who drew heavy praise from the head coach after Saturday. Jeff, a word or two about him and his immediate future here.
Yeah, look, I'm sure it's not the way he drew it up, being a healthy scratch 3 of the first 6 games, but he got his opportunity the other night, and I don't think it was the former team thing there's too many former teams for Daniel Sprong. So I don't think that was the motivation necessarily. But you could see, the speed was evident, but just things were happening around him and the puck. Good things were happening. It's such a contrast between a guy like Daniel Sprong and a player like Nils Åman, where almost nothing happens around Nils Åman when he's out there. And that's what he brings to this mix, is this ability just to defend and sort of quiet things down. Obviously, there's upside with Daniel Sprong. This guy has scored 20-plus goals in the National Hockey League in a season. He's got this shot that we've talked about since training camp that is different than others. It's a differentiator for him. And Rick Tocchet has praised him not just for his performance the other night, but for the mature way that he's handled sort of this early season bumpy road of not being an everyday guy. And I know he talked the other night about, forget about game 6 and 7. By the time game 80 rolls around, that's where I want to be, make sure that I've staked my claim to a spot in the lineup, and we won't remember what happened in the first 3 weeks of the season. So it sounds like a pretty professional approach from a guy like Daniel Sprong. But I just liked a lot of what I saw the other night. And, if he can continue to do that, to cause defensemen fits in their own zone, to be able to use the speed to create some space for himself, and then we know that he's got the skill level to create offensively. So, I think for Sprong, that was a nice opportunity. They're going to keep him in the lineup, same 12 forwards tonight. There may be a change on defense. If it is, it's most likely Juleson in and Desharnais coming out. But they're not tampering with a 12-man forward group that you guys, how often have we seen all four forward lines score in the same period? I've seen all four score over the course of a game, but all four in a 6-minute span, that's something I'm not sure that I have seen very often in my time covering the Vancouver Canucks.
Didn't allow them to come up for air either. When every line coming over the boards does that, I mean, there's nowhere for anybody to hide. And that's because that other guy that's been vying for a spot in the line, this number 40, he came to play. What do you think of what he brought to the table? And is it over? Is the breakthrough there for Elias Pettersson?
I can't get there just yet.
You're not ready.
But again, steps in the right direction. We're still waiting for that big explosive night offensively where he's all over the score sheet. This was his first goal of the season. Nice play. Tyler Myers, Connor Garland, who's just been terrific since day one. Garland gets the puck to PD, and look, he makes no mistake, and that's what you want to see, is that shot with a little velocity on it, picked his spot on the far side, and in, and it has to be a relief for him, just with all the noise in the market for the last little while, but in the end, it's just 1 goal and 1 point for Elias Pettersson, so it's something to build on, but it really was something for the team to build on because, man, did they stack those goals in a hurry. The next shift, it's Kiefer Sherwood, and then JT Miller. He got a little bit of a bounce, but stuck with it. And, all of a sudden it goes from 2-0 down to a 3-2 lead, and there was really no looking back there. So I like what I see. Again, Garland is the driver on that line right now, and so it's a little bit of a different position, if you will, for Elias Pettersson, that he's not the guy that's expected to be making all the plays, to be the creator. I think at some point he's going to have to get back to being that for the Vancouver Canucks, but right now Garland's doing most of the heavy lifting, Nils Höglander chipping in, and they're finding Pettersson, like that goal in Philly that, same sort of deal where Garland got the puck to Pettersson wide open in the slot, could have shot, but made the right play to slip it over to Höglander for the tap in. Here this time, PD elected to shoot the puck, and good things happened. So, again, it's something for him to continue to build on. Points in 3 straight games now. That's what you want to see, but it wasn't a huge, loud night for Elias Pettersson individually. It was just a big, loud second period for the collective of the Vancouver Canucks.
Jeff, let's deal with DeBrusk here then. At what point would you get worried about DeBrusk, who is still sitting on no goals?
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to him pregame on Saturday, and he tried to laugh it off. He's a likable guy, big personality, but he knows he was brought here to score goals, and we're 7 games in, and hasn't happened for him yet. I mean, he tried to joke a little bit that maybe I used up too many in the preseason, and he did score 3 there, including an overtime winner out in Abbotsford. So he has put pucks in the net. He hasn't forgotten where the net is or how to use that stick. And he does have 4 points in 7 games, right? 45-point pace. And at the end of the season, I think that's kind of the neighborhood you would expect. But you were thinking it was going to be 25 goals and 20 assists or 25 assists. So, yeah, he's got to get on his horse. He knows it. But in saying all the things that he said the other day, kind of reading between the lines and forming my own conclusion, he was quick to point out the fact that he has played with pretty much everybody on this team already 7 games in, and he said it is tough to find some chemistry, and he hasn't necessarily found his slot. But started the year with Paterson. Now he's playing with JT Miller. He had the one game where he had dropped down onto the third line. He's not a third line guy. He is one of their best wingers, even if the goals aren't there yet. He's got to play in the top 6. But yeah, it's looked and felt clunky. There hasn't been that rhythm for him, hasn't found his groove, hasn't shot the puck much, just 11 shots in the 7 games. So, in order to score goals, you do have to shoot the puck at some point here. And I know Brock Besser wants the puck on the other side, and he shoots a lot. So maybe there's some of that as well. But whatever the case, they're winning hockey games, right? And I think that alleviates a fair bit of the pressure. Conversation and the noise would be a lot louder. Probably benefited from JT and Elias Pettersson getting into it at practice last week. That dominated the headlines as well. This market can turn on guys in a hurry. We know that. I don't think we're anywhere close to that with Jake DeBrusk, but at the end of the day, he was paid a lot of money. They committed to him. He is going to have to finish. And through it all, the fact that they have won 4 in a row and have one regulation loss and this high prize free agent hasn't been one of their big offensive contributors. In some ways you can spin that as a positive. He will score goals. Jake DeBrusk will score goals for the Vancouver Canucks. It will happen. I don't think that's a newsflash to anybody. But yeah, and to make that happen, he's going to have to dig in, to use Rick Tocchet's phrase, and just do a little bit more for this hockey club.
What's the goaltending plan? I don't think Lankinen is going to be tired, but do they need to get Artur Silovs in? Do you care if you're Rick Tocchet because you're getting wins? What do you think they're thinking there?
I think a lot of this is schedule dictated, that it's a full team day off yesterday, and so Lankinen's getting his rest here.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming back with him. It'll be his 5th straight start. He's given up 3 in each of the last 2. Now, I didn't really have any problems with the goals themselves that got in against Pittsburgh, but I thought maybe the door was open to going back to Artur Silovs for this one. That said, Carolina, 2nd in the National Hockey League in shots per game, and 1st in the National Hockey League in the fewest shots that they allow. I mean, they love to have the puck, and when they've got it, they shoot from everywhere. I'm not sure that necessarily plays into the hands of Artur Silovs, given some of his issues that he's had early in the season, although he was pretty good in Tampa, certainly in the first period in his last start. But so it's not going to happen tonight. But then you got New Jersey, and we know that when Jersey's trucking along, they can score a bunch. And so that's not going to be an easy game. Can they ride Lankinen into Saturday and get Silovs a start in San Jose against the Sharks at the start of the road trip? I wonder if that is sort of the master plan in all of this. Rick Tocchet did say that, look, they have to get Silovs in here. They're just riding the hot hand right now. That's sort of where the decision is coming from. But I do wonder if Lankinen performs well here and they get another win and make it 5 straight victories against Carolina, do you ride him out again on Wednesday night and then bunch of days off, and maybe then you see Artie on Saturday in San Jose?
All possible.
All of it possible, for sure. Lastly, Jeff, is Brännström even in danger of hitting these waiver thresholds, or is he just going to be a regular Vancouver Canuck the rest of the way?
Yeah, Tocchet was talking him up again this morning, pointed to a play the other night where Brännström went back for a puck, and Tocchet said standing behind the bench, kind of figured he would just wheel behind his own net and sort of take his time and survey, and instead, a quick turn and a quick up ice to Kiefer Sherwood and generated a scoring chance off the rush. And Tocchet was like, that's the kind of thing that, we need from this guy. So Derek Forbort is back. The Canucks announcing now, the news had been out there, but it hadn't really been made public by the organization. But Derek's dad, Keith, passing away from colon cancer, far too soon of an age. So the personal leave is over. Forbort's back. Won't play tonight. But now you start to get some of these questions that we talked about up front. And incredible decisions. I wrote about this at Canucks Army on Sunday. Think back to the final years of Willie D and early Travis Green. There were a lot of nights where the Vancouver Canucks didn't ice a lineup that had 18 legitimate National Hockey League players. They just didn't.
Right.
And now the depth of this group has put the coach in an enviable position, but a tough one, to make decisions on guys that should be playing. And so I would think that Forbort's going to get back in there, but Brännström's a left side guy as well. I asked Rick on Friday out at UBC about Brännström playing the right side, and Tocchet said, yes, they have investigated. They've looked at the analytics, and they check out there, and that is a possibility, was his word. So might we see a Forbort and Brännström pairing at some point here in short order? And I think the answer is yes. I think you want to keep Brännström in there, but I think they do want to get Forbort back in as well for what he brings in terms of some heavy lifting on the penalty kill. But Brännström even got penalty killing time the other night against Pittsburgh. So this guy really has done an incredible job. The Canucks have won every game that he has played, not all on his back or on his watch, but he's certainly pulling the rope in the right direction here. So, yeah, I mean, tough decisions are coming. Obviously, that's not great news for guys like Vincent Desharnais and Noah Juulsen, but that is life on the fringes of the National Hockey League on a roster that is chock full of National Hockey League caliber guys. And so we'll see where it goes. They're healthy too, right? Like, you know, at some point injuries could dictate some decisions on the part of the coaching staff. But in the short term here, I do think they're going to take a look at Erik Brännström over on the right side just to see what he looks like there and how he plays so that he could remain in this lineup long term.
So the calculus on which side he plays on should really just come down to this question then, Jeff. On their respective sides, because they're on different sides, who's better, Forbort or Desharnais? Do you have a flavor for either of them in a Canucks uniform yet?
I think you probably default to the veteran guy that's been there and done it a lot longer in Forbort, and I do think one of the reasons they picked him up was his penalty killing utility. I mean, led Boston or was among the Bruins' leaders in ice time on the penalty kill. You know, a bit of a throwback, just old school. Puck is sometimes secondary with Erik Forbort. He knows his job is to clear the front of the net. And if you're going to have Brännström and Quinn Hughes in the lineup together, we know how much Rick Tocchet values the size and the redwoods back there on defense. And so, not that Desharnais doesn't bring that element as well, but I just think Forbort hasn't lost his spot in the lineup because of poor play or in injury. This was leave as a guy can take. And so I do think he'll get back in there maybe as early as Wednesday. Although if they continue to win here, maybe he has to wait a little bit longer. Whatever the case, I would think that Forbort's ahead of Desharnais on the depth chart just in terms of the guys that they think are everyday players in the National Hockey League. And I think they still want to continue to work on Desharnais, and they signed him to a couple-of-year deal. So they've looked at him as a project. They think there's upside there. But in the short term, I do think if I'm slotting their defenseman, I probably have Forbort ahead of Desharnais.
Wow. Marvelous stuff, Jeff. Thank you for this. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be watching RinkWide Vancouver. Remember, moments after the final horn, you can catch Jeff and the post-game show, and we'll catch up with you on Friday.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Jeff Paterson, our Canucks reporter, one half of the RinkWide duo, or RinkWide Vancouver. As mentioned, coming up later today, that segment powered by Square. If you run a restaurant, you're too busy for this ad. You're thinking about how to get more orders flowing, new locations opening. You need to get more customers and keep them coming back. So really, you're already thinking about Square, because Square Restaurant Tech helps more than 400,000 restaurants do all those things and more. So when you're thinking about your restaurant, think bigger and think Square. Go to square.ca and see why Square is big in restaurants.
I apologize to our chatters on YouTube. For some reason, I can't see you today, so we'll get to your comments tomorrow. It's always better to react to the game anyway, so we'll get to those tomorrow. I apologize.
Mm-hmm. And plenty more coming up, as we mentioned. A super busy weekend in sports. Playoffs. Whitecaps, Lions. We're talking playoffs coming up next.
I'll be honest, I don't get to many games anymore, whether it be at the arena or the stadium. Ticket availability cost, it's a bit of an issue these days. So I prefer to go where there's atmosphere and I know I can get in. Greta Bar YVR. Soak up all the atmosphere with your fellow fans and enjoy a great night with a great street food menu. I prefer the poutine. Weekly drink specials as well at Greta Bar YVR at 50 West Cordova. And we'll be having our viewing parties there all season long as well. Your pregame, your postgame, it's at Greta Bar YVR, 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin.
To Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center, you can text us 778-402-9680, email live at sekeresandprice.com. All of it to the Great Clips inbox. Great Clips.
It's going to be great.
This next segment brought to you by our friends at White Spot.
Autumn, winter means the time for, staying inside, but not reclusivity.
No, we want to do that.
We spend time with friends and family at this time of year because we're inside with them, with our housemates and such. We want to be cozy, though. We want to be comfort.
Love it.
All these reasons why the White Spot culinary team has come up with the comfort menu. It's for spending time with friends and family. It's for being cozy. And it's for a bit of nostalgia. I think a lot of the dishes on the comfort menu bring up nostalgia, like mini Yorkies, the braised beef burger, home-style pot roast, and backed by popular demand, the iconic chicken pot pie. Can't wait to try it out. You should be feeling the same. It's the comfort menu at White Spot. Visit your local White Spot today.
Vancouver Whitecaps FC lose 2-1 in Game 1 at BMO Stadium against LAFC. Ryan Gauld scores in added time, but too little too late. LAFC gets a lead here on a penalty. Tristan Blackman called for the penalty. Vanni Sartini post-match, from what I've seen, it looks really close, but yeah, it is what it is. The VAR is for this kind of situation. I will watch it again, but I'm not in the position to comment if it was a mistake or not a mistake. I'd like your 2 cents on it. I would also like your opinion on whether the histrionics of last year from Sartini in that decisive match against LAFC has him a little more muted about the officiating here this year.
1,000% that is the case.
Okay.
He has definitely got he's put the muzzle
when
on
I read
himself.
it and when I saw it, I was like, that sounds to me like a guy who's holding back a little bit.
He also got tossed
was
2 games back as well, remember, with the yellow card, and then ultimately suspended again for a single game. So I think he's muting himself a little bit for sure. As for the call itself, I love that the ref doesn't call the penalty originally because he knows, hey, if they see something up top, they can reverse it. But here's the thing. You need, by the letter of the law, proof. And we've had this beef already this season for the Whitecaps, going back to the Minnesota match here at BC Place, where Ryan Gauld gets his cleat up on Sung Bin in the box, and it sends Minnesota to the spot. Or no, sorry, it took a goal off the board for the Whitecaps. That's what happened.
Yes,
it was
also a Gauld goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, can't remember who ended up getting credit, but anyhow, and in both cases, I'll say the same thing. If VAR is the one taking a look at it, you need the smoking gun. You need proof. It can't be. Now, a referee on the field can take I'm pretty sure I saw that must have been a foul. The referee's allowed to make that because he knows he's got VAR to correct him if need be. But VAR can't make that. VAR's sole jurisdiction, if you will, is to provide the smoking gun. They can't look at something and say, I think he probably committed a foul there. Nope. That's not what you can do. You need proof. And you look at those 2 angles.
Yes.
I'm sorry. All that I can see there, all that I think that I see is it coming off his tucked left arm, which is not a foul.
Yes. VAR is the objective proof. The referee on the field is allowed to use subjective discretion.
Yeah, reasoning, if you will.
It's a pretty even match, all told, between the Caps, who are the 8th seed, and LAFC, who's the 1 seed. Vancouver actually had a little bit more of the ball, 51% possession, although LAFC goes up early, 2 goals early.
So some
score effects.
Yeah.
Each team with 4 shots on goal on 15 attempts. Caps with 4 more fouls, 16-12, 2 yellow cards apiece. 3 corners for Vancouver to 5 for LAFC. 2 saves for Vancouver to 3 for LAFC. It is pretty much a toss-up game down the line.
It really is. And the woulda, coulda, shouldas are long here in that, if White tucks that early chance in instead of going off the post, who knows how it unfolds. If that penalty isn't called, who knows how it unfolds. They are so scary on counter, though. Like, they are for right.
Well, they're a really good team. They have a lot of talent ability there. We went through MLS spending last week. They are right up there.
It gave me the same vibes as Canada versus Argentina at Copa.
Yeah,
it's that Canada can hang with them. Canada can bounce around the ring and jab with them. It's just that one opening, and all of a sudden,
you know what? It's crazy to say David versus Goliath, because 6 weeks from the end of the season, the Caps were right there with LAFC, vying for a home playoff, a home playoff advantage with them, and yet I'm reminded of what Christian Jack used to say to us all those years ago when we have him as regular, Blake. for the best teams in MLS, the first 10 or so games are basically feeling out what you've got, what you need, and all that.
Yeah.
And then come the end of the year, when you have those rich DPs and you have those quality players, that usually shows up. I mean, Vanny talked about it in the wild card match. Like, DPs, this is where they have to show up. And LAFC clearly has, has the talent edge here. Game 2 is at BC Place on Sunday. It's a 5:45 p.m. kickoff. If Game 3 is required, it will be a week from Friday at LAFC, and I understand tickets are already going quickly here for the Caps.
Yeah, absolutely. With Game 1 in the back pocket, now Game 2 of the best of 3 series, Sunday 5:45, and tickets are on sale right now. Click the link in our episode description. If you're watching on YouTube in particular, we'll post it on Twitter as well. Click that link or go to ticketmaster.ca/Whitecaps and you can get in. And here's the thing with it would be kind of nice as a bit of a bragging right. BMO's a nice stadium there in LA. They can only seat 22,500.
Yeah, I noticed the attendance was just over 22.
I mean, that's SRO though for them.
That's quaint.
So let's.
I mean, they had 30,000 last year, right, for this playoff game.
Yeah.
So I would like to think you
shame.
can do 30,000. Again, I think it's a good start time for them, too, on a Sunday to be right in that late afternoon, early evening window. The BC Lions will play the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Regina Saturday, 3:30 kickoff in the CFL West Division semifinal. The road to getting there was crazy. Did you see the Montreal-Winnipeg conclusion on Saturday? As you know, if Winnipeg had lost that game in Montreal, Saskatchewan gets top spot in the West with a win, and the Lions would have been off to Winnipeg for a third successive year in the postseason. Except for Winnipeg gets a dramatic walk-off field goal from ex-Lion Sergio Castillo at Percival Molson Stadium to beat the Alouettes and win the West. How did they get that field goal? And Marshall Ferguson and Dwayne Ford did a great job on the commentary. A mysterious win. It is a quiet night, calm night in Montreal, Blake, until the dying seconds of this match, when from out of nowhere, a crazy strong wind rolls over Mount Royal into the Alouettes' face. The punter shanks a 20-yard punt, giving Winnipeg the field position to kick a final second field goal. And here's the thing. The Alouettes called timeout before that punt. Had they just punted the ball, they would have avoided the wind and probably won the ball game. Instead, I mean, it's the sort of thing that you anticipate that would have happened at Notre Dame 100 years ago, and sports writers would write about God's on Notre Dame's side or something like that. Anyways, that's how it went down, and
it would have been great if they were divisional foes. Like if it was,
I know.
It
would have lived forever if it was like in a higher stakes match, right? This crazy win for Battle of Blue. And as we told you on Friday, if Winnipeg's going to win that game, watch Saskatchewan sit all their starters. They did that. Hope you got in on that action at Bet365. We also learned this will be the final season in Grey Cup for Commissioner Randy Ambrosie. He is out after the Grey Cup game here in Vancouver in a few weeks' time, and he was pushed by the board. So the CFL in the market for a new commissioner.
What do you think the board didn't like about Randy Ambrosie?
I mean, there's been a bunch of things over the years that it could have just been a accumulation, critical mass of different things. It may well be that the board thinks there's a better candidate out there. I think Ambrosie was wearing thin with some CFL fans. We know Randy, he's an upbeat, cheery guy, but, sometimes you're just better off admitting a mistake as opposed to trying to spin. And he was even trying to spin this. He was asked about this and said, well, I'm not focused on that. I'm focused about all the great work we've done here and completing. And it's like, well, wait a second. The board wants you out.
Do you think people blame him for the lack of a Halifax team? That maybe somebody else would have shepherded it across the line?
I mean,
it's out of his hands a lot.
It's
a lot
kind
of
of
it.
COVID's. Yeah. I mean, and stakeholders there in Halifax have to make that
that's right. Yeah.
decision. It may be an expansion thing going forward. I mean, Laval outdrew the Argonauts and the Red Blacks this year, Blake. Like, I continue to look at Quebec City, and I know the financier of the Laval program doesn't want it there. He likes being the only game in town. But I think that's the most fertile football market in the country. And I really want to get to 10 teams here for the sake of the schedule. Not to mention, the Red Blacks brought something to the league when they came in with their fans and their new traditions and all. I would love to see that happen again. Sure. Anyways, Ambrosie's out. Polish up your resumes if you think you can run the Canadian football league.
I might lose my co-host here.
Also, no. Keep him mad. You've got to be somewhat a diplomat, politician in that role. Also, congratulations to a couple local football teams. UBC loses to Manitoba on the weekend, but they'll host Saskatchewan Saturday in a Canada West semifinal. And the Okanagan Sun are off to the Canadian Bowl, the Canadian Football Junior Championship. They await the winner of the Ontario Conference. That game will go this week. They'll have to play in Ontario in a couple weeks to take home that national championship. NFL.
No. We shouldn't talk about the NFL today. We really shouldn't. It was maybe the worst game. Well, no, there's a lot of candidates for bad games of the season for the Seahawks. It was putrid.
Seahawks lose 31-10 to Buffalo. They're never really in this game. They are now 4-4 in a three-way tie for first after losing ground to each and every divisional opponent this week. Rams, Cardinals, 49ers, all won.
And your team, I don't even
want
to
describe. That's a good opponent. Buffalo's a good team. But yeah, I mean, they go down the field and they score on their first drive. Buffalo does, and yeah.
Still, you're at home. You're at home, so like you gotta look competitive in that game, and they didn't look competitive.
No,
their offense going into the fourth, I think, was 111 yards, 2 yards along the ground.
Yeah,
like, are you kidding me?
They are 15-15 in their last 30 home games. And once again, a visiting team takes over your stadium. I mean, it sounded like a Seahawks score.
I had to keep, I joined in the third, and I kept on having to shake my head like, wait, because it was a 1 o'clock start, so I was like, I guess it could be, is it in Buffalo? And I kept, no, there's a lot of teal in the audience. No, it's home.
We know Bills Mafia travels, and I'll tell you, Blake, I had 3 different friends that I know go to this game and supporting the Bills. A lot of Southern Ontario transplants out here. There are a lot of Bills fans, but I was astonished at how easy it was for a visiting team to take over Lumen Field again after what we saw against the 49ers a couple of weeks ago. It has become clear, and it's a big discussion topic down there in Seattle now, that you have a lot of season ticket holders who are selling their seats. The term profiteers has been used for season ticket subscribers at Lumen. It is nowhere near the home field advantage that it used to be when they'd, of course, get the opposing offense to commit all those false start penalties.
I honestly think it's a big part of this is the lack of a true NFL superstar on that team. Like, Geno's fine. Everyone on there is either good or fine. Like, they've made Geno the face just because he's the quarterback and all that, and DK Metcalf with the proper quarterback could probably get superstar status.
Yep.
But Lockett's getting old. He's been a great veteran.
I mean, I think you have high hopes for Witherspoon being an all-pro player,
but he's young and and there's nobody just good enough to be a superstar player right now. So it's
in their heyday, like him or hate him, they had charismatic individuals. Yeah. Whether that was Russell, whether that was Marshawn, whether that was Sherman. I'm not sure they have that. Right? And a head coach, of course.
But all 3 of those players were freaking dominant, too.
At different times. The New York Jets, with a loss so ugly to the Patriots, it drew condemnation that approached the event at MSG. They scored 20 points. They didn't turn it over. They allowed fewer than 250 yards. Dan Orlovsky, in NFL history, teams, when generating that box score, 750-0 until yesterday. The first loss by a team to score 20 points, not turn the ball over, allow fewer than 250 yards offense.
How do you lose
How
that
do you
game?
lose that game? So the season probably over for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Buffalo's going to cakewalk that AFC East by the looks of it after the Dolphins lose to the Cardinals.
I saw a lot of Jets fans saying they are done being Jets fans
Yeah.
after that game.
I couldn't believe my timeline yesterday was filled with all sorts of rhetoric from New York. One about the event at MSG.
Yes.
One about the events at Foxborough with the Jets. Here's the other thing. How bad is New York football right now? Notre Dame, by virtue of a 51-14 win over Navy Saturday at MetLife Stadium, has scored more touchdowns in that stadium this season, 7, than the Jets and Giants combined,
Wow.
who have 6. Giants, of course, playing Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football, games in Pittsburgh. And was there a dramatic ending in the NFL this week, Blake? I was watching my Bears. I saw Roshan Johnson catch the 2-point convert for a 3-point lead in the dying seconds.
So you just turned it off, went for a
Turned the
beer?
game off. I had some housework to do.
Yeah. No, you're good. They won, Matt. Don't worry. They sealed that deal. Don't
I have no
worry.
recollection of what happened after that Roshan Johnson 2-point conversion. Carmen tells me there was a hospital visit, something about a traumatic episode.
It was. I actually went through all the this is the greatest part in the NFL and it actually wasn't as sad as I thought it was going to be. Is the radio calls? Of course, you hear the home radio call, the road radio call. The Bears radio call was not actually that bad. It was
pretty clinical.
It was pretty that is shit. Like
Noah Brown catches it, Bears loose.
Yeah.
The color guy went, "Whoa!"
But it wasn't as bad as Brett Favre throwing 4 interceptions in the fourth quarter or whatever that one time. Oh my God, that was so good in Minnesota. But who was it against? Stevenson? Who's the
Tyreek Stevenson, the defensive back, who's a pretty good defensive back, is taunting the crowd, not paying attention when the ball is snapped. He has to race, and
he does get back into the play, but he's
but only
disheveled.
because Jaden Daniels is running around. He would not have been in the play if that was your classic.
Yeah.
And he attacks the front of the pile when there's nobody guarding the tip guy at the back.
Alone at the back.
Yeah. He took to X and apologized to Chicago and teammates. My apologies for the lack of awareness and focus. The game ain't over until zeros hit the clock. Can't take anything for granted. Notes taken. Improvement will happen. And really, it didn't sting that bad, Blake, because for 3 quarters the Bears were horrible. Washington deserved to win the game.
Yeah.
They kicked field goals instead of getting touchdowns. In fact, they got a raw break or a raw deal from the officials on one of those drives. So it would have been thievery had the Bears won that game. The World Series is 2-0 going to the Bronx tonight, where the Dodgers, all these home runs and all these gaffes by Yankees manager Aaron Boone. Shades of Kirk Gibson right down to where the ball landed in the right field stands on Friday night. Freddie Freeman being injured as well. It wasn't quite limping pumpernickels like Gibson, but both home runs came within a minute of each other, 8:38 local time, p.m. This is, of course, the famous Kirk Gibson home run over Dennis Eckersley in Game 1 of the 88 World Series. Dodgers came back, hit a lot of home runs in Game 2 as well. It's been a fun series so far. It's been an awfully fun series.
And nice to have a pseudo-Canadian, being a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Freddie's talked about it many, many times. He's both his parents are born in Canada, moved to California. His mom died when he was quite young, and he represents Canada to represent her and keep her memory alive. So he feels connected to our country and his Canadian citizenship. And touch them all, you'll never hit a bigger home run.
Yes.
Freddie Freeman. How about this? Today is the 31st sports equinox in history, according to Joe Pompliano. And the schedule is beefy. 8 NHL games, including the Canucks in Carolina, 11 NBA games, Monday Night Football, Giants and Steelers. Game 3 of the World Series. You got 2 MLS playoff games as well. We talked Friday about how this is a great time of year in the world of sports. The weekend delivered, and it just keeps on keeping on here on this Monday, and will for a few more nights.
Yeah.
Like particularly if the World Series gets to a Game 6 or a Game 7 later this week. That'll be pretty awesome.
A lot of fun.
How do you feel about the scrutiny of Elias Pettersson? Poll question results from Friday. Too much, too little, just enough? The winner here?
Too much.
Yep. Percentage?
46.
50. Just enough got 36%. Too little got 15%. So really, it's too much versus just enough, too little. Dead heat. 50-50, really.
Yeah.
Tomar. The guy's a multimillionaire living a privileged life playing a game, and 48% are poor Petey. Leave him alone. Go figure. Highway. It has nothing to do with the market. When paid that amount of money on a contending team, you're expected to perform. It wouldn't matter what team he played on. What's happening here would happen anywhere at this level of play and pay. If you aren't helping, you're hurting. Kent. Watch The Turnaround on Netflix. We should do the same for him and all our players. Have you seen that? It's a short doc about a Phillies fan who organized. Trey Turner was really scuffling when he first got there, signing the big free agent deal, like really bad. And rather than boo him, and knowing the notorious reputation of Philly sports fans, this fan organized a let's cheer him, let's have a standing O every time he comes to the plate. And Turner turned it around. Maybe something Canucks fans can do for Elias Pettersson. Errors and omissions, I have 2. We have a new code on our Bet365. The previous code was Van Bonus, so I always used to say Van Bonus, one word. The new code is Nation. I said one word. Well, stands to reason.
It's not Nay, N-A-Y,
no.
And then the name Sean. That would be weird.
N-A-T-I-O-N.
Nay, Sean. I'm glad you clarified.
And then you've called it Twitter. Have we not moved to X?
No.
Can you still you're still standing by that if I type in twitter.com, it will take me to X?
It does do that, and I'm not letting him win.
Okay.
Yeah. This app will one day be called Twitter again. Mark my word.
Really?
There's a hot take for you. One day, that app, that website will be called Twitter again.
All right.
Mark
Look
my
forward to that.
Yeah.
I liked the name Twitter. I don't like X at all.
It
has no correlation to.
You created a verb with your brand.
Exactly.
Like that's marketing like 101. Like they were hugely successful with that. No.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with us. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, including YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Follow on social. That's X. You used to call it Twitter. Insta, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. Of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local. Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.